Welcome back to the channel, fellow aviators, to episode 2 of our NeoFly series. Before we get started, just a quick shameless plug. Please like, subscribe, comment. Really helps out new and up-and-coming content creators like myself. All right, before we get started though, I wanted to point out a couple things. Let's come down here to settings, and I tried to do a fresh install, but I was unsuccessful at that. And one of the things I didn't do was install all my additional aircraft. I don't know if you remember at one point when we created the profile, it asked us what version of Microsoft Flight Simulator, if we were using Deluxe, Premium, whatever. And I told you there's a way to add aircraft later, and this is what we want to do right here. Last week, the Aero from Just Flight came out, and so we're just going to come up here and type Aero. Wait for the slight delay. Come on, you can do it eventually. And there you see the Just Flight Aero 3, Turbo Aero 3, then Turbo Aero 4. So all we're going to do now, come down here, is click each button. And as you see, as we do that, it brings in that aircraft and all the liveries, however you say it. come into NeoFly. So I wanted to show you that real quickly. If you guys pick up any additional aircraft, just come up in here to the add-on section in settings, and that's how you can add your aircraft. I had also mentioned that how we do on our check ride, on our qualifications, determine how much money we receive, how much experience points, and I just wanted to cover that real quickly. So let's once again come up here to qualifications. And as you see at the very top there, we have a qualification, which is just going to be single engine piston. So what happens if we get additional stars? Well, we just come right down here to the tooltips, and we see that right now we have 1 star, so we get our base reward. 2 stars will give us a 20% reward, and 3 stars gives us 30. And as we come over here to the experience, we see we can either get 1 1/4 or 1.5 extra experience, which is huge, of course, when you're looking at some of these missions where, especially just starting off, the base XP is only 10. And to upgrade, come up here, it'll show us we need like 1,000 experience. So I think with some of the add-ons in terms of how far we flew, we got some extra experience. So we actually, that 10 XP turned out to be 82, but you can see in a game that's maybe a little bit grindy how important to do well on these qualifications is. So we're going to want to take a check ride sooner rather than later. And as you see, there's a whole bunch of different listed here. We can have the Bonanza. If let's say you're really into flying the Cubs, you could take it in that. For all you adrenaline junkies, acrobatic, the extra 330. Just our traditional 172, though it says on ski, so I'm not sure how that would work here out in California. The Diamond, the Robin, and the Zlin. So if you guys have seen my series on air, you know how much I love the Bonanza. I think that's just a spectacular aircraft. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and schedule a check ride in the Bonanza, which is out in Riverside. So we'll just add this qualification aircraft to the hangar. Would you like to take the qualification test? Yes. Costs us a whopping $140. And it says the Beechcraft Bonanza has been reserved for you at Riverside with a qualification test preloaded. Just go to RIR and assign your pilot to the aircraft. And we'll see that in just a second. And if we come over here to the information to get the different stars, we see that a 1 star is, you can see right there, during the touch and go, your landing vertical speed will be evaluated, and our feet per minute needs to be between, words are hard, 250 feet for 2 stars or less than 50 feet per minute for the 3 stars. So that's how we actually get graded on our check ride. So let's come back to jobs, and now we're going to see we have the Bonanza available to us. There's no pilot assigned, along with the 172, though I have not been flying that. We're still in the 152 to kind of simulate a free-to-play, start from scratch. And if we all we have to do is just click over on it and assign our pilot, and that's how we'll do that. But we'll do that in the next episode. Riverside, however, is, if we can see it on the map, is all the way out here, Riverside Municipal Airport. And we are located, obviously, right over here. So how do we get ourselves out there? Well, there's a couple different ways. We could literally just take our 152 and fly it there, or we could move ourselves there. So let's check that out. Come over here to career, and you'll see that we are located in Torrance, California. We'll click on the blue button, move pilot to new location. We can come up here and type in that destination, which is KIRIR. And it says, do you really want to move your pilot 48 nautical miles for almost $1,200? So God, no, we don't want to do that. So but if we needed to, we can move our pilot. So it'd obviously be cheaper if we just flew our own plane there. But what we can do is, let's see if we can find a job out over here. And let's go back here. That loads up just to run a tad bit slow. Let's come back to here, and we are not seeing all of our jobs. So let me relog back in here. Looks like we got a little bit of a graphical glitch. Maybe if I can, there we go. Just click on the aircraft I'm allowed to fly. That makes sense. I'd clicked onto the Beechcraft Bonanza. And so now we just need to find a job that's out towards this area right here. And so luckily I kind of know the area around here, but there's one here. So this job will pay us $3,400. It's a cargo mission, and it'll require 259 pounds of cargo. If we look up at the top, we see we have 324 available, so we could do that. Some of these others down here that's John Wayne, SNA. We got Long Beach. That doesn't really help us. This doesn't really particularly help us. We got a photo mission up at the Getty. That won't help us. We have this one here in Pomona, which is pretty close, but if you see, it has a weight requirement of 536. So unfortunately, we won't be able to do that in the 152. And then, of course, Van Nuys here, wrong direction. So definitely the best one for us to take will be the one out in San Bernardino. So let's go ahead and accept that job by clicking down here.
Good day to you, pilot. The flight plan has now been signed off. As soon as all the cargo is safely on board, you can get on your way.
Okay, so we still need to load up the aircraft, but one of the things...
The ground crew are loading the cargo. Stand by.
Yeah, standing by. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about before they interrupt me probably one more time here really quickly is a little bit of pre-flight planning. The nature of us flying the 152, I'm doing a little bit more teaching than I probably would normally do. Hope you guys enjoy that. Normally, we just kind of get in the aircraft and just go, right? We have a GPS, we plug in the destination, and away we go. Well, we really can't do that here. In a 152, we don't have a GPS. So what we need to do
Okay, pilot, that's the last of the crates secured, and the cargo door is closed and latched. You are cleared to taxi.
Thank you. All right, so one of the things we need to do is a little bit of pre-flight planning. Now, flying a 152 is very similar to flying a helicopter in terms of lack of autopilot, GPS. And so we just need to plan some stuff out beforehand. I kind of jokingly may have even mentioned in the last episode that IFR, which normally stands for Instrument Flight Rules, for helicopter guys stands for I follow roads, railroads, rivers, that type of thing. And the same thing applies here. But what I wanted to point out initially here is, I assume you've all seen this, I'm not sure if you have, is the free flight planning tool provided by Microsoft for Flight Simulator 2024. It's at planner.flightsimulator.com, absolutely free. Some of you may all have a subscription to Navigraph. I do, but if you don't, this is what we can use to do some planning out here. So what we want to do is just go ahead and we'll come up to the top here and type in our aircraft, which is a Cessna. Let's go down here and find the 152 from Asobo Studios. Great. Then we will come out to down to route, and we want VFR, performance options. Is there anything in here? Oh, so we can add the route here. And so we have a couple different ways to go out there, but how are we going to find it? Well, if we come over to the right side, we can just simply type out KTOA, and then we're going to go to KSBD, I believe. We can save that. And from here, we can see it's going to take us 57 nautical miles on a heading of 610. But getting out here, we could potentially get lost. So I'm thinking what might be a nice way to go about doing this might be to maybe see if we can find a VOR and maybe fly to a VOR and head on in that way. So I can see it on here because I'm pretty familiar. If you come over to the right side, we can add different parts to this map that we want right over here. These are the things that you can add, or you can even change the map type entirely. And I think when you're looking for your VOR, one of the easiest ways is to get off of this view and come over here to IFR low, and this will bring up all the nav aids. And so we see from here, we could either go slightly north of course up to Pomona, which I'll circle right now on the screen, or we could go to Seal Beach, and then from Seal Beach to Paradise, and then from Paradise up to, looks like from Paradise we could just follow that river right here and then follow that up to San Bernardino. So I think one of the easiest things we might want to do is simply just go to Pomona. So let's go back here, and we'll go TOA, and then Pomona is POM space KSBD. We will save that. And from here, it shows us about 32 miles on a heading of 048. And then from Pomona, another 27 miles, 0777 degrees, and we could go direct to San Bernardino. Let's go back to our VFR chart, and we can see now what we could do is actually what we'll do is we can come up to Pomona like we're planning, and if we go about a couple more miles to the northeast, we can pick up a major freeway, and that freeway is going to take us all the way in. So this is the kind of flying that you're going to have to do in a smaller aircraft like this. You're going to have to find your ways around not using a GPS. So we'll do a little bit of VOR work, which I think will be nice for this episode. And then we'll do a little bit of visual stuff as well. We can also see en route, I'll circle right here, it looks like we're going to cross two major intersections. I happen to know, since I'm from this area, that that's the 710 and the 405, and there's a river there. That's about 7-8 miles away. I'll circle that. And so roughly heading of 05 degrees, we'll pick up the VOR and head into Pomona. And one more thing I'd like to show before we get ready to take off, which is this, which is at faa.gov.airtraffic/flight blah, blah, blah. I'll leave a link in the description below. But what it is the actual sectionals and terminal area charts that you can download for free from the government. We pay the taxes, you get the free charts. All right, so what we want to do is just come down to here, and we'll go to digital downloads. Come down a little bit more, and then you can see the list of all these charts here. These are all sectionals. We could find, actually, we want a terminal. We can use the helicopter charts. Helicopter charts are great if you're flying around, let's say Los Angeles or any of these spots right here that's listed. It's going to have the routes that helicopters going to fly at, normally low level, so a lot of the buildings are going to be pointed out, frequencies, all sorts of stuff. But let's use a terminal chart. We will come down a little bit to here. Let's find, because I probably pass it up because I don't know my ABCs, Los Angeles, and then we'll load in the PDF, which will take just a second. And there you go. This is the actual chart that you would have if you're an old school pilot like me and don't have everything on an iPad. When I first started, I would carry around a sectional, a terminal, literally in my flight suit at all times. And of course, you can zoom in if you like. You can move the chart around if you need to so you can see it. These are some of the different routes. Helps you for all the airspace. So I think that's some really interesting free things we can do. I'll leave a link in the description below, both for the Microsoft Free Planner, say that twice as fast, and for the FAA charts. All right, so the next thing we need to do is come back here, and we can exit out of here for now. So we got to memorize that frequency, 110.4. That's the Pomona VOR frequency. Did I write that down someplace? I did. All right. And we can exit out of there. And now let's come to the hangar. And I think we have seen, or is it the manage our flight? Alrighty. So now we just need to load everything up. As you see at the very top here, we have 429 pounds missing. I don't know why it's so much since it was only supposed to be 250. And I guess that's probably 200 for me, and which is very generous. So let's come to here. We will bring up our iPad and we will do our front seat. So we will say, what is it? 200 load, and then we want, I guess that was cargo. And then up here we will put was it 59? Let's see if that works. 59. Oh, it only gets us 200 there. All right, so let's load. And I think probably need a little bit more cargo. Was it? Let's come back here. Let's double check what we have in NeoFly. It's still saying 0. So let me sort this out. Okay, so that's all I had to do, is we had to break it down a little bit. So now we see at the very top, we have our fuel on board, our weight is on board, pretty much at max weight. At this point, let me cut away. I will meet you at the departure end of the runway, since this is only 152. There's not much to do in terms of a pre-flight scenario, and I don't think we need to see the taxi at Torrance. So I'll catch you all in 1 second. All right, I am back with you. I am on the runway, and I think we are all ready to go. So let's get out of here. Let's drop that parking brake, and let's go. All right, looking for around 55 knots or so. Make sure to stay on the center line.
Transporter, have a nice flight.
Thank you very much. All right, off the ground. Let's get our taxi light off. And we start to turn and start heading out towards our destination. So what did we say? I think it was about 060, something like that, to head out there. All right, and we'll make sure we got a nice climb rate going. 500 feet looks good. Little aft trim. All right, and so what we want to do is, I think we mentioned before, is head out towards the Pomona VOR. and that frequency is 110.4. I have that in both the primary and the backup frequency, or in the backup number 2 nav. And all we're going to do is just dial in our CDI, which stands for Course Deviation Indicator, until it centers up. So it looks like right about, hard to fine tune it here, about 71 degrees. All right, so that's the course we're going to want to fly. 71 degrees, and that'll bring us right out to the Pomona VOR. No flaps on the takeoff. And once again, we'll start working on our trim. Check our engine power right at 25. I don't think we need to pull back. I think if this was my plane, I'd probably pull back about 24, but it's not. So we'll keep on flying. We're just going to kind of slowly make our way up to about 1,500 feet. The airport elevation out in San Bernardino, I looked up before we left, is about 1,200 feet, 1,300 feet, something like that. So we'll slowly make our way up. I think about 1,500 feet is a good place to kind of hold up. And now we're just going to have to kind of continue. And now as we look over at our course deviation indicator, you can see it's moving slightly towards the left, which means we, even though we are on a heading of 071, let's rotate out to about 065. Let's see if we can hold that. A little bit more trim. And now we're just going to kind of, as we're flying, now we're flying VFR, so it's not ultra critical, and we're not doing instrument work yet, but this is kind of some good preliminary training for us. See, 065 is still moving slightly off towards the left. So we'll just keep coming back to try 060. We don't want that needle to be any more than about a dot out of whack. Shut off my track IR. About this time of day, it gets this weird sunshine that heads in there, and it totally messes up the tracking. So we'll just shut it off for now. All right, leveling off here about 1,500 feet. We're still coming to the left, the VOR. So that's the direct line distance. What we don't want to do is kind of, I mean, I could readjust the course deviation indicator to center that up again, but then you kind of make kind of this rounding kind of turn, and we don't really want to do that. So we'll come over a little bit more. Let's try 050. See what that's like. Oops, sorry about that. I have got a brand new cockpit set up, so everything is a little bit discombobulated today. What we can do is I'm going to turn my track back on for a second. Remember we talked about that there was going to be an intersection of 2 freeways. That is right there in the river. That's the LA County River, and I can guarantee you it's never had that amount of water in it for decades. All right, so it looks like we are on track. We got heading about 050, which kind of is what we wanted to have in terms of like some raw data. Let's look down at our VOR. It's no longer really moving out on the course deviation indicator. So we can kind of hold that, or you just even 045 or so. See if it starts to move itself in here in a couple seconds. What does my trim look like? Well, I don't have lateral trim. We'll roll to the right. That's probably pretty good right there. As I was mentioning before, I just got a brand new cockpit. I got a brand new set of helicopter controls, which I'll probably post up right here. It took, my gosh, it was, I've been talking about this on my other series I'm running on air. I ordered my controls all the way back in November of 2024, and they just showed up, literally all of them this week. I got one kind of big batch last week and then this week. And so I ordered that and a new dedicated cockpit. So I had really thought that I was just going to use the cockpit for my helicopter stuff. It turns out I can slide it up right underneath my desk. I have a Secret Labs desk, the motorized one that kind of goes up and down. And that is working really, really well, but it's all brand new controls. So it's a little unfamiliar. The first time I've used the pedals as rudder pedals. I've been using them to fly some helicopters. I don't talk. This is I'm not sure how many people are coming in brand new to this series. I've talked a little bit about it on air. So I think even the last episode I mentioned I'm a current airline captain. I fly the Airbus A321 and 320. But before that, I was a helicopter pilot. I have about 10,000 hours in helicopters total time. So I'm already aboard at like 035. It looks like it's now just starting to come back in. Crazy. Anyways, actually one of the things that got me involved in starting in, I really never did much flight sim at all. I actually had the Airbus controls. Just didn't think it was that, I don't know, immersive. And then I tried my son's. He had a VR headset, like the Quest 2, I think it was, and I plugged it into my 4 or 5-year-old laptop. I guess I should have silenced my phone. But, and it was a horrible experience. The screen was tearing, it was going to black all the time. But when it worked, my gosh, it was great. And I thought to myself, what would be cool is if I could actually like fly helicopters in VR. It'd be very, very lifelike. That is totally my track. I are freaking out. Pause it for a second. And so that's what actually got me into flight simming, was trying to build a rig that could handle running VR, getting, just interrupt myself here a little bit. So as the CDI starts to come slightly back towards the right, we can kind of make what's called a wind correction angle. So we were at like 035, we'll go to like 040, and we'll kind of see if that holds it, or if it keeps moving. If it keeps moving to the right a little bit, then our wind correction angle wasn't large enough. The goal is not to randomly fly all over the place, right? Like, it's a great, if you're just kind of getting out, you're trying to do some VOR work, make a 10-degree correction, and then if that works and it comes back in, come back 5 degrees. If it looks like the 10 degrees isn't going to cut it, just kind of like start to bracket yourself a little bit. So you see it's still coming back slightly to the right. So I keep coming back a little bit more to the right. I've just directed slightly left here with some pressure. Ooh, I've got bust the check right here to 1600. Let's go back down. So the goal is to try to hold that there right in the center. So I'm going to try, let's go to 045. Now, if it starts to move slightly to the left, I'll go back to 040. So I should be able to dial in here with a higher degree of tolerance here. Anyways, here's another major freeway that we're passing over, and I don't know if you remember from the chart, probably didn't point it out. I went through that maybe a little bit quicker than I anticipated. We talked a lot about the low IFR en route, so we'll definitely cover some more pre-flight planning while we're flying the 152. There was a mountain range, or a little set of hills, we call that a mountain range. Everyone out in Colorado was laughing at me when I said that. We're just going to have to kind of get over that hump there. And I think roughly we should be about halfway, I believe. All right, so checking our CDIs, that looks good, right on the center. And what am I flying about? 045, looks good. And we'll still lit eye. So anyway, so that's what got me into getting into Microsoft Flight Simulator, was the goal and desire to fly helicopters, which I had not done since October of 2018 was the last time I flew a helicopter. And it's unlikely I will probably ever really fly another one again for real, as they are incredibly expensive to downtown LA there to operate, rent. I have a friend who actually has a helicopter company. So if I fly, I'll end up flying with him. I'm sure next time I go out to LA. So kind of this is like full circle for me, where what kind of got me into getting into flight simming was the ability to fly helicopter. I finally got my full set of helicopter controls. How did it go, you might ask? Well, not great. Clearly, look, I've got 10,000 hours in a helicopter. I know what I need to do. Just kind of getting it done is working out to be a little bit more difficult than I thought. I'm really almost back to kind of be a brand newbie. I'm, doing my hover. I start doing Flying Dutchmans all over the place, just rocking back and forth. When I was instructor, I would have been yelling at my student for that. But I'll get the hang of it. I'm sure it's like riding a bike. I just haven't made it around to the end of the first block yet. I haven't really put that much time into flying helicopters. I will. And I will add some helicopter content to this channel once I do. I'm actually kind of excited about that. Stutter there. So how do I see this series going? Well, I kind of like instruction. I've been talking a lot about my helicopter controls. I think the 152 is a great aircraft to do that in. I'm thinking we're definitely going to try to make this community driven. I'm sure at some point we will graduate from the 152, either when I can take a loan out and buy a new aircraft or earlier. You guys can always leave a comment down in the description below. Down in the description or in the comment section, and put it in there, or hop over to my Discord, which is in the description below. We'll get there eventually. Right now, I am currently running a poll on my Discord for my on-air series, asking what people would like to have me fly next time. Kind of narrowed it down to the ATR, the Airbus, or maybe a study level type of aircraft like the Duke or Piston Duke by Black Square, or something else entirely different. So that is what the plan is on there. I'll leave a link right here on the on-air series, and I'm sure at the end of the video here I will have a little card put up for that. Just learn how to do that. I'm all happy with myself. So, last episode we talked a lot about scan and trim. This episode we're talking a little bit about kind of pre-flight planning, flying, VFR. Once you're, much like if you're a passenger in a car, you don't really pay as much attention. Well, when you're flying around in a plane and you always have a GPS to take you everywhere you need to, we lose the art of VOR navigation, which is what we're doing now. Alright, so now we're coming back slightly to the right, and I've moved over to 040. So let's back out to 050. What it's telling me is I need to come more to the right. Where the needle moves, you need to go. Right? So we're looking at the VOR right now, and there's a little triangle, white triangle that's pointing. That is the to triangle. Once we pass the VOR, we'll see that when we do that, it will move behind us, and then that'll be a from indication. Also, as we pass over the top of the VOR, it's going to start to fluctuate. That is completely normal. Don't chase the needle when that happens. Just let it settle in. So as we get about a mile or two away, the needle will start to fluctuate back and forth. Unfortunately, we don't have DME, which is distant measuring equipment, which would be a little nice digital readout of how far away that is. If we fly another aircraft, I'm sure anything other than this 152, it will have it in there. All right, so just kind of continuing on here. So to the right, I went back to 040. So once again, now we can have a little conversation about flying in a straight line. I know that sounds stupid, but it's not really. You can see I'm easily getting myself moved off to the left here. And so what we want to do is establish 2 points, not one, on the horizon and aim towards that. Because if you only establish 1 point, you can actually kind of be bending it and not going perfectly straight. So you pick up like an intermediate target. So I'll just kind of do that crook in the valley there, and maybe the one way off in the distance. If you kind of keep those both lined up, that would keep you going straight. I know that sounds kind of dumb, how to fly in a straight line, but you can see, especially with an aircraft that doesn't have lateral trim, you know, I'm trying to compensate, so I'm pulling back a little bit on the left. If my scan gets a little bit behind because I'm yippity-yapping or looking around or looking at my radios, then I can get yourself slightly off track. It actually happens. So we just want to establish, you know, our heading, and then kind of stick on that heading. Just getting a little bit of a deviation there. You saw that light, a little bit of a right turn. You can see the CDI is just barely moving in. So now that I'm starting to center up, I'm just going to come back about half that, which was 5 degrees. Get ourselves lined up. So, anyways, this is how you fly pretty much a helicopter. You're just out there looking around, looking at everything, following these roads, and there we go. Looks like we are crashing, and we crashed.
A few moments later.
All right, everybody, we are back for our bonus takeoff. We relocated to Pomona, so we were only about maybe 5-6 minutes away, which is kind of cool. It didn't lose the entire flight. I've reloaded the weights back up like initially, and so it looks like we just need to fly there. So let's get going. I've actually had really good luck in terms of crashing. That's probably only maybe my 3rd or 4th crash total I've ever had. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. All right, 55. Airborne we are. So maybe.
Okay, pilot, steady away. See you again soon.
All right, thank you. Maybe the game couldn't handle my completely enthralling conversation about how to go straight in an airplane. And of course, I forgot to set my track IR up at no big deal. It's just, as I said, this is the time of day where it starts to get kind of cattywampus on me. All right, so let's kind of head out towards the northeast, and now we're just going to look for a fairly large road, freeway, to bypass, and then that should bring us literally right into. I'm tempted to look out the window. Should I do it again? Ooh, it worked. Looks like there's our road right there that we're going to follow, and it should just curve all the way around and bring us into San Bernardino. And we're going to look for about, I don't know, 1,200 feet or so, roughly. Follow that all the way, and hopefully it runs the entire way. I've seen some, I think I mentioned before, I've seen some really weird things here in LA. Roads just kind of disappearing. We'll assume that's not going to happen. Here we go. I think it curves up and around and then back down. So we're looking good. So have I ever gotten lost just following a road? And the answer is yes. Yes, I have. And I did it on my literally first cross-country flight flying in a helicopter. I was making my long solo cross-country flight and doing exactly what I'm doing now, just following roads. And I took off out of Long Beach and then flew out towards the desert, French Valley. And then from there, I cut back towards the west, out towards the Pacific Ocean, going for Oceanside Airport, and I took the wrong road. And what I ended up doing is, instead of going to Oceanside Civilian Airport, I went to Oceanside Marine Corps Air Station. So here I am in my little R-22, zipping along at about 500 feet, and I see, of course, I'm brand new. I have no time whatsoever, right? I am still on solo. I've got maybe 25, 30 hours of total time in a helicopter. And what do? I see the airport, and I'm like, oh, that's great. I made it. Good job, Daryl. And I get a little closer. I'm like, huh, a lot of helicopters here. Ooh, they're all painted green. And right about that time, a couple Cobras took off and just went buzzing right by me. And you could almost see the look on their face of what the hell is this dude doing in his R-22? So Oceanside Civilian Airport was about another 2 miles down the road. And I landed there. And as I landed, the guy goes, I have a phone call for you. So the tower had called, and the guy started chewing my butt. And of course, I had just gotten out of the Marine Corps, so I was, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full, sir. You know, this is Corporal Davis. And I said, oh man, I'm sorry. My boss has already sent this off to the FAA. So I got a call from my friendly neighborhood FAA inspector, and wanting to know what had happened. And he was really more upset that why was I on such a long cross country, and how I got lost. Did my instructor not teach me the correct way? And my instructor didn't know where I was going. We had a complete communication breakdown at some point. I thought I was good to go. He thought we were still talking about it. So I kind of launched myself. Oops. All right, so we found the road. We just passed, I think it was that, Ontario, up on our right-hand side. Do I dare use my side windows? Ontario, there you go, out in the distance there, a couple miles. So I've actually flown in there a couple times for my airline. I made a Orlando to Ontario flight at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so the sun just never went down as we were going westbound, and that was just painful. I had like the sun in my eyes for like 5 hours. That's the reason I don't have zero desire to fly the long haul. 5 hours, I've already put a bullet in my brain. Anyways, I climbed up a little bit. I thought 1200 would cover it, but as I'm getting here, you see how the peripheral vision, we're not really that high. So I imagine as we curve around here in a couple more miles, it will start to descend. So we've already had pretty much a little bit of a long flight. I'm just going to cut out here just like 4 or 5 minutes until we get a little bit closer. I think we still have a ways to go. Oops, sorry, man. Once again, sorry. I have moved everything around, including my microphone. I need to whack that. Let's just check the EFB real quick. Yeah, we've still got a ways to go. Probably 10, 15 miles. So, all right, I'm going to cut it out here since we're only rocketing along here about 100 knots. And I will see you all in just a couple seconds. Okay, everyone, back with you again. We are just coming up over San Bernardino Airport. Just kind of getting ready to enter the downwind. Flying a 152. There's not a whole lot to talk about. We can just talk about basic traffic pattern entry. Normally we'd probably want to fly right over midfield, as usually would be the call. We're just kind of entering here in the upwind. And when should you turn downwind as you're making your traffic pattern here? As I square it off, I don't know, probably just kind of get about a 45-degree angle off your tail. Don't want to turn in too tight. You can, but then you just have to have a little bit of a harder time squaring off your traffic pattern. Nice, definitely nice and wide. Normally at this point you'd want to slow down, but we're in a 152, so there is no slowing down. But what we can do is probably make this really long. Normally you want to kind of get downwind of beam. About midfield, start pulling back on your power. Once again, we just kind of want to make that turn as you get towards 45 degrees off your tail. You're going so slow. We need so little runway. Gotta turn a little bit early. You can follow that road right there at 11 o'clock. Perfect landmark for us to follow. All right, so we'll just kind of start slowing up. A little bit of trim, a little bit of power. Bring it down to about 22,000 on the RPM. Start our base turn here. Airport elevation, I think, is once again 1,200 feet. It's about 800 feet to go. I even forgot to completely set my track IR to working. Trim. Still just a touch fast where I want to be. Probably 70 at this point. Explains it. Forgot to put in my flaps. We'll just use one. Should be plenty. Power.
You greased that landing. Ace.
What a butter smooth landing.
Taxi to parking and shut down your engine.
We just need to find our first taxiway so we can get off. And call this a flight. Put down those big ass hangars down there. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the episode. In the next episode, we will either I will find a job and off-camera fly it over to Riverside, or if not, I will just show up at Riverside, and the next episode we will take the qualification check ride so we can get the extra XP. I think that'll make a big difference. And we just need to figure out what we'd like to do. I'm sure I'll definitely do a couple more flights here in the 152. We can do some more VOR navigation, or VOR to VOR. We just did the one inbound. So things we can talk about are to from indications, how that works, reverse sensing, if that's applicable, all that kind of good stuff. And then we just need to figure out what we need to do for our next aircraft. I can't take a loan out until we at least advance up one more level, and so I'm just gonna cut right through these cones because I'm crazy. All right, that should be good. All right. Let's just bring it to a halt here.
Transport from dispatch. Okay, nice job. Someone is coming to take the cargo. I'll call you when it's done.
All right, let's go over to NeoFly and see if there's any changes here. All right, so we've gone to 126 experience. Don't know if I've been paid yet. Somehow have less money than we started.
Transporter from dispatch. The cargo was picked up by the customer. Your mission is completed.
All right, there we go, 35,000. All right, so just a quick look over here.
Let's get out of here.
Pipe down. And we need to get over here, looking for Chino, CNO, RIR, RIV. Yeah, it's not that much closer. CNO, Chino, perfect. So we'll probably take that flight. I'll do it off camera, and then I'll just make the real quick 5-minute flight. Once again, I know this was a little bit long, a lot of yippity yap. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave a comment down in the description below. And once again, thanks for watching. Take care for now. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.